What's up, Skins Nation? Hell yeah. Are you ready for some football? All right, well, let's get into it. Welcome to another edition of Pigskin Facts, History, and News. And I'm your host, of course, Fred Watson Jr. And let's get right into it. We're going to start out with our trivia. And we ended the last segment with when I told you that I would give you the answer to the questions that I had for you, the trivia questions. And let's get into the first one. The first one: how many records does former legend kick returner Brian Mitchell hold? How many records does former kick returner Brian Mitchell hold? And the answer to that question is 9. So we're going to go through all of them. So let's get started. Brian Mitchell, by the way, former Redskin great, is now an analyst for the NBC Washington Sports Network, and he was a heck of a player. So let's get into the 9 records that he set. First one, the most fair catches as a kick returner. He had 231. The most single season fair catches. He had 33. The most punt returns in his career. He had 463 punt returns. Wow, that's phenomenal. So it's just amazing to wonder how many touchdowns did he actually run back. Most punt returns, 463. Most punt return yards, 4,999. 1 yard short of 5,000. 4,999. Phenomenal. Most kickoff returns in a career, 607. He had 607 kickoff returns in his career. Number 6, most kickoff return yards, 14,014. 14,014. Most kick returns. Whoops, paper flying all over the place. 1,070. 1,070. Most kick returns for touchdowns. And here's an interesting fact. He had 13 in his career. Most kick returns for touchdowns. He had 13. Most combined, number 9, the final one. Most combined kick return yards, kickoffs and punts. 19,013 yards. 19,013 yards. Wow, that's a phenomenal stats. And if you saw Brian Mitchell play, he was dangerous. He was a dangerous kick returner. And hey, Brian, if you could turn back the clock 20 some odd years, 25 some odd years, we could use you back as a kick returner. But hey, maybe there's a new legend in the making, and we'll see what happens. Okay. What year was former Redskins wide receiver Art Monk drafted, and what college did he go to? Art Monk, Washington Redskins wide receiving legend, 1/3 of the posse. He was selected or drafted in 1980, and he attended Syracuse University, and he was a great one there as well. Okay, third and final question from our last segment. How many quarterbacks won in the 3 Super Bowls that the Redskins won? How many quarterbacks were utilized? What were their names, or what was his name? Remember, that was a trick question from the last time. Okay, here's the answer. There was not one quarterback. There were 3 quarterbacks. 1982, Joe Theismann pioneered the Redskins to a Super Bowl win over Miami, 27-17. 1982. 1987, quarterback Doug Williams, who became the first black quarterback ever to win a Super Bowl. And he happened to play on our team, the Washington Redskins, as they won and beat the Denver Broncos 42-10 in dramatic fashion, scored 35 points in the second quarter, still a Super Bowl record. And Doug Williams happened to be the MVP of that game, 42-10 over the Denver Broncos. And last but not least, 1991 Super Bowl, the quarterback was Mark Rippon, and he engineered the Redskins to a 37-24 win over the Buffalo Bills. And he also was the MVP of that Super Bowl. Okay, at the end of our segment today, I'm gonna have three more trivia questions for you. And of course, as I tell you, as always, I have those answers on the next segment. So if you have any comments or if you have the answers to those questions that I present, feel free to put them on the comments. And as a reminder, also, if this is your first time watching, thank you. Hit that subscribe button and leave your name, leave your comments, or any ideas or anything that you have that I can do to improve my show. And to all my present viewers, I want to thank you. Love you as always. One love, Skins Nation. Okay, you're probably wondering, why in the heck is he wearing a Redskin Scully and it's summertime? Well, recently I lost my hat, so my Redskin hat. So it's a big mystery right now where it is. But I promise you, I'm gonna find that hat and I will be wearing it on my next segment. I promise you I'm gonna find it. I need to buy more actually, then I wouldn't have that problem, would I? No. Okay. All right, continuing on, we're gonna get into our Redskins history. And the last time we left off and we were discussing the Redskins turning back to the winning ways in 1969, as I mentioned, the coaching legend from Green Bay, Vince Lombardi, got hired as Redskin coach in 1969, and he coached the Redskins to a 7-5-2 record, turned them back to the winning ways. However, in September of 1970, there was a tragedy. It was an untimely death of that coach, Vince Lombardi. So there was another coach that was hired, Bill Austin, in 1970. But unfortunately, the death of Vince Lombardi impacted the Redskins in a very bad way. And they had a losing season at 6-8. And at the end of the 1970 seasons, Coach Bill Austin was fired by the Redskins organization. So they brought in another coach. He happened to be coaching the LA Rams. He's a legend, and his name was Coach George Allen. And he did not get along with the Rams organization, or should I say the Rams owner. So he was released at the end of the 1970 season. So the Redskins saw fit to pick him up. And this man came in with his own philosophy. He completely turned around the Redskins roster. He swapped 7 players, 24 draft picks for 19 veterans. And 10 or 11 of those, if I'm not mistaken, I stand corrected. I think it was 11 starters were 30 years or older. They were veterans, and they earned the moniker the Over the Hill Gang. But actually, it had worked out. The first season under George Allen, the Redskins finished with a record of 9 wins, 4 losses, and 1 tie. And they finished second in the NFC East to the Dallas Cowboys, who unfortunately won the Super Bowl that year. And our Redskins advanced to the NFC Division playoff, where we lost to the San Francisco 49ers. The score was 24-20. But George Allen, being a close friend of then president at that time, was President Richard Nixon. And Richard Nixon predicted that the Redskins, prior to that season, would either be a championship team in either 1972 or 1971. His predicament was very, very close. The following year, in 1972, the Redskins came back and they dominated the NFL scene. They had an 11-3 record. They were first place in the NFC East. And there was a comment made by former defensive tackle Bob Lilly of the Dallas Cowboys. He said that the Washington Redskins put the NFC East on the map. The NFC East was one of 6 divisions created from the 1970 NFL merger. And the NFC East consisted of the Washington Redskins, the Dallas Cowboys, St. Louis Cardinals, the New York Giants, and the Philadelphia Eagles. So as all of those teams improved, so did the Redskins, and it created a big time war, a big time rivalry between the Washington Redskins and the Dallas Cowboys. That was a burning rivalry in those times, and it led up to where we are today. So the year is 1972. George Allen has established his team. Billy Kilmer, Sonny Jurgensen was the starting quarterback at one time. He was injured, bringing another quarterback, Billy Kilmer, and they had just enough offense to win these games. Running back Larry Brown, wide receiver Charlie Taylor. They had weapons. They had weapons. They had weapons. And on defense, the Redskins were phenomenal. They shut down teams left and right, and they completely turned around and turned back around to their winning ways. Okay. Now, let's get into our shining moment and our gem of the day. And our shining moment, our gem of the day, takes us to that same year of 1972 when the Redskins finished with an 11-3 record, first place, and they won their playoff game against the Green Bay Packers, an NFC divisional game which was at RFK Stadium, 53,140 in attendance. The Redskins won that game 16-3 with stifling defense, and they scored just enough. They kicked 3 field goals, and they scored a touchdown on a 32-yard pass from Billy Kilmer to wide receiver Roy Jefferson in the second quarter. The Redskins led 10-3 at halftime, and they went on to win that game with 2 more field goals added by field goal kicker Kurt Knight that topped it off 16-3. And the Redskins shut down the Green Bay Packers as they won the NFC divisional game. And then that advanced them to our shining moment, our gem of the day. It was the 1972 NFC Championship game between the Washington Redskins and their bitter, hated enemy, their arch rival, the Dallas Cowboys, in front of 53,129 fans at RFK Stadium. And the Redskins won that game 26-3 behind a stifling defense as the Redskins stifled the Cowboys quarterback great Roger Staubach, and they held him to 98 yards passing on 9 of 20 passing. And Roger Staubach basically that day was running for his life. He was sacked 3 times by that vaunted Redskin defense, and he ran the ball for 59 yards on 5 carries as basically he was scrambling for his life. He couldn't find anybody open. Cowboys running backs Walt Garrison and Calvin Hill, a familiar name who you know, Calvin Hill, the father of basketball great Grant Hill, they were held to a combined 37 yards on 16 carries in that game. The Redskins, however, had a great day. Quarterback Billy Kilmer played the game of his life, completing 14 of 18 passes for 194 yards, and he threw 2 touchdowns to receiver Charlie Taylor, who caught 7 catches for 146 yards. Phenomenal performance. Larry Brown rushed 30 times. He carried the ball 30 times for 88 yards. And Kurt Knight, the Redskins' great field goal kicker, set a playoff record, hitting all four of his field goal attempts. And in the playoffs, he went 7 for 7. And the Redskins won that game in sparkling fashion, dramatic fashion, 26-3. However, they went on to the Super Bowl 7, and unfortunately, we lost to the Miami Dolphins, 14-7. The Miami Dolphins went on to complete a perfect season at 16-0. We had our chances to win that game, however, but we didn't. But back to our shining moment was the Redskins winning that great championship game in 1972 over the Dallas Cowboys, 26-3. And it's in the record books, and it will always be remembered as one of the shining moments in Redskin history, our gem of the day. All right, we're going to get on to the latest news. There was an unofficial roster release of a depth chart recently for the Redskins, And offensive lineman Jerron Christian, who was drafted last year out of the University of Louisville, was listed as a starter at left tackle. Also, there was a quarterback shuffling rotation, and it was listed as follows. And it had Kurt McCoy as starter at number 1, Case Keenum playing backup number 2, and our first draft pick at the 15th draft pick in the first round was Dwayne Haskins Jr. as number 3. All right, moving on. Adrian Peterson today was held out of practice on day 10 of training camp. He was held out with a minor ankle injury. It shouldn't be serious, so he should be back soon. So hopefully he'll nurse himself back to health, and we'll get him back healthy again. And also we have a preseason game this Thursday night against the Cleveland Browns, and you can catch that on NBC4 Washington Sports. All right, there was a news article. Coach Jay Gruden made a statement that he doubts that left tackle Trent Williams will be traded. And of course, you probably heard rumors that the Patriots were interested in a trade for Trent Williams. Trent Williams is upset at the treatment that I think he received by the Redskins medical staff. He was. He's upset. He's upset about that, and that's one reason for his holdout. And then there's contract issues as well. The crazy part is he's being fined $40,000 every day that he holds out a training camp. Man, just to have $40,000 in your hand, and this man is losing it day by day. $40,000. Wow. So, Josh Doctson, he's been dealing with the issue with his Achilles heel once again, and there was a report that he made the statement that he's not using that as an excuse, and he's playing with a little pain as his Achilles heel has kind of been re-aggravated again. But he is practicing, and he's dealing with the pain right now, and hopefully this is a breakout year for him. I believe this is his 4th year coming up, 4th season, so hopefully he has a breakout season. Recently, safety Landon Collins was asked who is his favorites right now, who is a standout right now as far as wide receiver that he's seen in training camp. One name was obvious, and another name was a surprise. The obvious name was Jordan Reed, and he said that Jordan Reed is very impressive in training camp catching balls, and we already know his credentials as a tight end. So if I said wide receiver, he's tight end. We already know his reputation. Unfortunately, he's been injured a lot, so hopefully he stays healthy this year and he plays 16 full games, because he's a powerful element, powerful piece to that Redskin offense. So, Jordan, we're looking forward to a new season with you, and we're looking for you to do big things in our offense. So kudos to you. Keep up the good work. Landon Collins said the other wide receiver that stands out is speedy wide receiver rookie Terry McLaurin out of Ohio State, the same wide receiver that Dwayne Haskins threw to in college. And they said he's impressive. He's catching almost everything, and he's also a special teams ace, standout as well. So they're looking at him in that. So hopefully, I'd love to see Terry start and do damage. I would love to see it. Of course, he runs a 4.3 in the 40. He's fast, and he's got good hands, and he runs great routes. So looking forward to him. So kudos to you, Terry. Much love, Skins Nation, and we're looking for that. All right, we're going to end this show. I got 3 more trivia questions for you. And like I told you, I promised I would come back with the answers. So once again, if you know the answers to these, feel free to put it in the comment section. I would love to read it, or I would just love to hear from you, period. In the comment section, give me your thoughts on how you like the show, or if you If you have any ideas for improvement, anything I can do to improvement, I'm having humble beginnings here. So welcome those of you that are watching for the first time, and those of you that have been tuned in, much love to you. Keep watching. Those of you that are watching for the first time, hit that subscribe button, and we're just going to keep on rolling with this. All right, first question. Who was the last Redskins quarterback that was selected in the first round? What year was he selected? What was his name? And what pick was he in the NFL draft? Who was the last quarterback that the Redskins selected in the first round? What year was it? What was his name? And what draft pick was he selected in the first round? Number 2, the Redskins under first-year head coach in 1981, legendary head coach Joe Gibbs. If you're an old head Redskins fan, you probably remember that season. They started out 0-5. My question to you is, who did the Redskins defeat in their first victory of that season? What was the team that they defeated, and what was the final score of that game? Okay, our last question. In Coach George Allen's final season as head coach as the Washington Redskins, his final game, they defeated his old team. Who was his old team, and what was the final score of that game? It was 1977, which was Coach George Allen's final season as Redskins coach. His final game, they defeated his old team. What was the final score? And what was the name of his old team that he defeated? All right. I will have those answers in the next segment. Thank you guys for watching. This hat will not be on my head in the next segment. I will get my hat back, I promise you. In case of the missing Redskins ball cap, I will find it. Once again, I'm your host, Fred Watson Jr. I love you guys. Hail Nation. And I'll see you on the next segment. Peace.